It was just after 2:17 a.m. when the phone started ringing. The lot was empty. The night still. Cold. Not a soul in sight, except for the sound. Faint at first. Then louder. A cell phone, ringing from inside a locked car. No lights. No movement. Just a beat-up silver sedan parked beneath a flickering street lamp in the corner of a grocery store parking lot. The kind of place you pass by 100 times, and never notice. But someone noticed this time. A night janitor on his smoke break. He heard it, just once, then again, 5 minutes later. Curiosity pulled him closer. He walked over, thinking maybe someone left their phone. Or worse, someone was passed out. He approached the driver's side, leaned in, and froze. The car was empty. Or, it looked empty. Then the phone rang again. This time, he saw it. The screen lit up from the center console. A photo of a young woman smiling. The name on the caller ID just said Mom. And that's when he realized, there was something else. Something barely visible, behind the driver's seat. He took a step back. Then another. And called 911. Officer Danielle Hart was the first to arrive. She'd been on patrol less than a mile away when the call came through. Suspicious vehicle, possible unconscious party inside. Standard stuff. Usually someone sleeping it off or waiting for a tow. But this time felt different. When she pulled in, the janitor was still there, pale, pacing, hands shaking slightly. He pointed to the silver sedan without saying a word. Hart approached carefully. Hand on her flashlight, other near her holster. Procedure. She circled the vehicle slowly. No signs of forced entry. Windows fogged, like someone had been inside for a long time. The car was still locked. But when she leaned closer, she saw it too. A shape slumped low behind the driver's seat. And something else, red. Dark. Smeared. She tapped on the window. No response. Tapped again. Nothing. That's when she saw the phone. Still glowing. Still buzzing with the same incoming call, Mom. Officer Hart didn't wait. She radioed for backup, smashed the rear passenger window, and reached inside. What she found would unravel a story far darker than anyone could have imagined. The glass shattered in one clean hit. Hart reached in, unlocked the door, and yanked it open. Her flashlight cut through the stale air, and then she saw her. A young woman. Maybe late teens, early 20s. Slumped sideways in the back seat, wedged between the center console and passenger seat. Motionless. Her clothes were torn. One shoe missing. A faint cut across her cheek. And blood, dried and tacky, matting her hair and pooling beneath her shoulder. Hart checked for a pulse. It was faint. Barely there. But it was there. She called it in. Female, mid-20s. Alive. Possible assault. Immediate medical needed. As she waited, she searched the car for clues, anything. A jacket. A purse. The phone that had kept ringing now sat silent on the floor. Missed calls. Voicemails. Then Hart saw something that made her stomach turn, scratches. Fingernail marks dug into the inside of the rear passenger door. Tiny. Desperate. As if someone had tried to claw their way out. And written in the condensation of the rear window, one single word. Help. Who was this girl? And what had she been running from? She was identified 4 hours later at the hospital. Emily Reed. 22 years old. A senior at Cal State. Studying psychology. Honors student. Worked part-time at a cafe downtown. Beloved by co-workers. Known for her laugh, the kind that lingered even after she stopped. Her mother, Dana, was the one who had called again and again. Emily was supposed to be home by midnight. She never missed curfew, even now, years after high school. That was just the kind of daughter she was, careful, dependable, kind. When Dana got the call from the hospital, she collapsed. Doctors said Emily was lucky to be alive. Head trauma. Dehydration. Bruises across her ribs and wrists. Defensive wounds. And yet, no memory. Not of what happened. Not of where she'd been. Nothing beyond leaving a friend's house around 10:30 p.m. the night before. And then, darkness. Just a voice. Low. Male. Repeating one word in her mind. Stay. No one could explain how she ended up alone in that locked car. Or why someone would want to hurt Emily Reed. But the answer, it turns out, might have been hiding in plain sight all along. Detectives started with the obvious question. Where had Emily been before she vanished? The last person to see her was a friend, Rachel, her college roommate. They'd watched a movie together. Ordered Thai food. Normal night, Rachel said. Emily got a call around 10:15 p.m., stepped outside to take it, then came back and saying she had to go. She didn't say who called. Rachel told police. But she looked off. Like something was wrong. Scared, maybe. Or just distracted. Rachel said she offered to walk Emily to her car. Emily declined. That was the last time anyone saw her. Surveillance footage confirmed part of the story. Emily left Rachel's apartment complex just after 10:30. Alone. She crossed the parking lot, got into her car, and drove away. But there was no footage of where she went next. No toll cameras. No gas station stops. No ATM pings. Her phone went dark at 10:52 p.m., either turned off or destroyed. A digital ghost in the span of 20 minutes. Investigators scoured her texts and social media. Nothing unusual. No angry messages. No stalkers. No threats. But when they dug deeper, they found one conversation. Deleted but recoverable. A name Emily's friends hadn't heard her say in months. And when they saw it, everything changed. The messages were buried in the phone's recovery cache. Dozens of them. Sent late at night. Over the span of weeks. From someone saved only as A. Most had been deleted. But fragments remained. One stood out, dated 2 nights before Emily disappeared. You owe me a conversation. After everything, you owe me that. Detectives traced the number. It belonged to Aaron Blake, age 26. A name that made Emily's mother physically recoil when she heard it. Aaron wasn't just an ex-boyfriend. He was the ex. The one that left bruises, emotional and otherwise. They dated for nearly a year. Friends said it started sweet, then turned cold. Possessive. Controlling. By the end, Emily had become a shell of herself. She broke things off 6 months ago. Changed her number. Blocked him on every app. Even changed her route to school to avoid places he used to go. No one knew they'd spoken again. When detectives brought Aaron in for questioning, he didn't deny knowing Emily. In fact, he smiled when they said her name. I told her we weren't finished, he said. Then leaned back in his chair. And said nothing else? That same night, the night Emily vanished, Aaron's phone records told a chilling story. Between 10:30 p.m. and 11:15 p.m., his phone pinged repeatedly near the area where Emily's car was found. Calls. Texts. Missed calls. All unanswered. Detectives pulled the timestamped logs. Aaron had tried calling Emily 22 times. No reply. But the last call, the one at exactly 10:52 p.m., was the most telling. That's the same moment Emily's phone went dead. The silence that followed was deafening. Why was Aaron so desperate to reach her? Had they met somewhere after her roommate said goodbye? Or worse, had something happened during that elusive 20-minute window? Refused to give a straight answer. Instead, he shifted blame. Claimed Emily was unstable. Said she had problems he couldn't fix. But deep down, Hart and the other detectives knew something else. He was hiding the truth. And it was just a matter of time before it came out. The more detectives dug into Aaron Blake, the more they saw a pattern. Not just with Emily, but other women too. Stories of sudden disappearances, strange phone calls at odd hours, aggressive messages sent and deleted. Neighbors described Aaron as polite, almost charming, until he wasn't. His social media was a curated mask. Pictures smiling with friends, motivational quotes. But behind closed doors, whispers of obsession and control. Emily's friends started piecing it together. How she'd withdrawn from her usual life in the months before the disappearance. How she'd become anxious, paranoid even. But no one dared say it aloud. Not yet. And then came the chilling discovery. Aaron's phone, seized by police, contained a folder labeled "Keep Quiet." Inside, encrypted messages. Photographs. Recordings. Things no one expected to find. Secrets that hinted at a darkness far deeper than a broken relationship. What was Aaron trying to hide? And why had Emily begged for help in that desperate scratch on the car window? Inside Aaron's phone, investigators found something chilling. A collection of videos. Short clips, some barely a few seconds long. Most were innocuous. Aaron at work, hanging out with friends. But others were not. They showed a different side of Aaron. Footage of Emily. Unaware. Alone. Sometimes upset. Sometimes scared. One video captured a heated argument in a dark parking garage. Her voice shaky, his low and threatening. Then a hand slamming against the wall. The camera cuts off. Another clip was a recording of a voicemail. Emily's voice, trembling. Please, you don't understand. I can't do this anymore. The final video stopped abruptly, static and then silence. It was a silent scream for help. Detectives pieced together a timeline. Emily had been trapped, hiding in plain sight. But from what? And from whom? The truth was slowly unraveling, like threads pulled from a frayed rope. But the question that haunted them all was this. Had they found her just in time? Or was this only the beginning? For months, Emily lived a nightmare no one knew about. Behind closed doors, behind her quiet smile, behind the carefully crafted posts and polite hellos. Fear had taken root. She was trapped, not just by Aaron's control, but by her own silence. The guilt. The hope that things might change. Her mother, Dana, kept asking herself the same question over and over. Why didn't she tell me? Why did Emily feel so alone? The scratches on that car window, they weren't just marks. They were a desperate message. A cry for help that had gone unanswered until now. As Emily lay in that hospital bed, fragile but alive, one truth became clear. Sometimes the most terrifying prisons are the ones built from fear and silence. And breaking free takes more than courage. It takes someone willing to listen. News of Emily's rescue spread quickly. The quiet town, usually safe and familiar, was shaken. People whispered in grocery aisles, at school, behind closed doors. How could this happen here? Who would do something like this? But beneath the surface was something darker, fear. Parents worried about their own children walking home alone at night. Friends questioned their own memories. Had they missed signs? Some said Emily was reckless. Others said it was fate. But most remained silent. The betrayal felt personal. How could someone so close, so familiar, cause such pain? Emily's story forced the town to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, evil wears a familiar face. And the hardest battles are the ones fought in the shadows of those we trust. Dana sat by Emily's bedside every night, clutching her daughter's hand like a lifeline. The woman who had once been so full of life, laughter, and dreams was now fragile, her body healing but her mind lost in shadows. Dana's nights were long and silent, broken only by the steady beep of machines. She replayed every memory, every moment she wished she could change. She thought about the phone calls she never answered, the times she told Emily to be careful, the nights Emily came home late but brushed off her worry. If only I'd known, Dana whispered one evening, tears slipping down her cheeks. If only I had seen the signs. But guilt mixed with something else, hope. Hope that Emily would remember. Hope that she would find the strength to tell her story. And hope that, somehow, this nightmare would end. But as Dana held her daughter's hand, she knew one thing with terrible clarity. The road ahead would be long. And the scars, both seen and unseen, would last a lifetime. The forensic team worked around the clock. Inside the car, under Emily's nails on the seats, every inch was meticulously examined. They found traces of a struggle, fibers that didn't belong, dirt tracked in from somewhere unfamiliar. A partial fingerprint on the door handle. A smudge of lipstick on the driver's seat, too fresh to be hers. The lab reported something chilling, small amounts of a sedative in Emily's bloodstream. Something that would explain her memory loss. But not how she got it. The evidence painted a brutal picture. Emily had been held captive. Drugged. Fighting to escape. And yet, even with all this, there was no sign of a second person. No witness. No suspect beyond Aaron. The deeper they looked, the more questions arose. Had Aaron acted alone? Or was someone else lurking in the shadows? As the investigation unfolded, unexpected links began to surface. Aaron wasn't acting in isolation. Detectives discovered messages exchanged between him and another man, someone with a murky past. A man named Jason Mills, a local with a history of violence and run-ins with the law. Jason and Aaron had been seen together in the weeks before Emily's disappearance. But their connection was more than friendship. It was business. Or something darker. Neighbors whispered about late-night meetings in abandoned warehouses. Rumors of debts owed and favors exchanged. Suddenly, the case wasn't just about Emily and Aaron. It was about a hidden web of control, fear, and betrayal stretching far beyond what anyone imagined. And the question now was, could Emily's ordeal be just the tip of the iceberg? Detectives decided to follow the trail to the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Late one rainy evening, Hart and her team moved in. Inside, they found signs of recent activity, fresh footprints, cigarette butts, even a makeshift sleeping area. But most chilling was what they uncovered beneath a loose floorboard. A small box. Inside, personal items belonging to Emily, a bracelet, a torn photo, and a notebook filled with frantic scribbles. In the margins, phrases like, "He's watching. Can't trust anyone. Need to get out." The evidence confirmed what everyone feared. Emily had been held here. Kept silent. Held hostage not just by fear, but by those who thought no one would ever find her. And as Hart stared into the darkness of that empty room, one thought echoed in her mind. We're running out of time. The warehouse was quiet now. Empty. But the silence was heavy. For Dana, Emily's mother, the discovery was both a relief and a new kind of pain. Relief that her daughter wasn't forgotten. Pain that she'd suffered so much. For Officer Hart, the case had become more than just a job. It was a battle against something she couldn't yet see fully. And for the town, the fear lingered. People locked their doors tighter, looked over their shoulders, whispered prayers. But amid the fear, one truth remained clear. Emily's story was a warning. That sometimes, the monsters we fear aren't hiding in dark alleys. They're hiding in plain sight. Waiting. Watching. Just when hope felt fragile, a breakthrough came. Forensic analysts matched the partial fingerprint found on the car door handle. The print belonged to Jason Mills. The man with the violent past, the hidden meetings, the secrets no one wanted uncovered. Confronted with the evidence, Jason's calm facade cracked. He admitted to knowing Aaron, but denied direct involvement in Emily's disappearance. Yet, when pressed, he revealed something even more unsettling. Aaron and Jason had been planning something Emily had discovered. A secret that threatened to expose them both. And that, perhaps, was why Emily had been silenced. But what was the secret? And how far would they go to keep it hidden? Investigators pieced together the fragments of what Emily had uncovered. A scheme involving stolen identities, blackmail, and money laundering, run by Aaron and Jason under the town's very nose. Emily had stumbled upon their operation by accident, a name in a ledger, a misplaced file. Her discovery made her a target. They had tried to scare her first, calls, messages, intimidation. When that didn't work, they took harsher measures. The locked car. The phone ringing inside. The desperate scratch on the window. All signs of a girl fighting for her life. But Emily's strength had surprised them. She had survived. And now, with the truth out, the town had a chance to heal. But the question lingered. Who else was involved? And would justice truly be served? Aaron and Jason were arrested within days. Court hearings began amid intense media attention. But justice wasn't simple. The town was divided. Some believed in their guilt without question. Others whispered of loopholes, alibis, and threats. Emily, still recovering, faced the hardest fight yet, testifying in court, reliving trauma in front of strangers. Dana stood by her side, a silent pillar of strength. Yet, even as the trial unfolded, one thing remained clear. The scars on Emily's body and soul wouldn't disappear overnight. And the shadows that had lurked in their town for so long might never fully fade. But the courage to speak out, the fight to be heard, was a beginning. A flicker of light in the darkest night. Emily's story is one of survival, and a painful reminder. A reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying dangers come from those closest to us. That silence can be as deadly as any lock or chain. And that beneath the surface of even the quietest towns, darkness can thrive. But it's also a story of hope. Of courage. Of the power in breaking silence. As we close this chapter, we're left with a question that echoes long after the final scene fades. What do you think really happened that night? Was it a desperate act of escape? A tragic mistake? Or something even more sinister, hidden in the shadows? If you've been touched by this story, or know someone who needs help, remember, you are not alone. Reach out. Speak up. Because sometimes, that's the first step to saving a life.